All right, let's start this off, y'all. This episode of the Broke Otaku podcast is brought to you by Onion Milk. It's delicious. God damn it. It's really good. Fuck.
Welcome to the Broke Otaku podcast. I'm your host, AJ. With me is Marcus, a.k.a. Portal Wombat.
What noise does wombats make?
That is up to you.
I used to have a book called Wombat Walkabout.
That is one of the unanswered questions of the universe: is what sound does a wombat make?
Probably something like that.
That's correct.
And Alan, a.k.a. Brisket McFifty Sandwich.
I don't even know. It's like a psychological exam. Like, what do you think of when I say Brisket McFifty Sandwich?
Where does your brain go
We
when
take
you hear the term Brisket McFifty Sandwich?
Was that it? Brisket McFifty Sandwich?
Yes.
Well, we take a half a pound of brisket, put it on a half a pound of steak, and add a half a pound of pork chops and half a pound of fried chicken. That makes a quarter pound of delicious. The faster you eat it, the better it tastes. Biscuit McFifty Crunch Sandwich. Only at McDougal's.
Boo-doo-bap-boo.
Proud sponsors of the Daytona 9000.
We got the golden W up on our
Weedy
sign.
weep whoop whoop. I like it.
It's pretty good.
Scuba da bop bop. You might like it. I'd eat it.
All right, I got this game.
I wouldn't eat it if I were you.
So,
I'm done.
in the spirit of hunting demons, we're going to go on a little demon hunt.
Oh, shit.
And you two are the demon slayers, if you will.
Nice.
Can I have good smell and a heart purer than pure gold?
Yeah, but you have to cry a lot.
I cried a lot already today. I can cry a lot more.
Perfect. So the way this is gonna work, and maybe not perfect. I played it out in my head. It seemed okay. So you guys will have 3 weapons or attacks at your disposal. The first one is sunlight. The second is Nichirin braids. And the third one is wisteria. So sunlight is, and this is not a 1-to-1 like sunlight insta-kills or, wisteria does what, this is just for the game, does certain things.
My immersion
so
is broken. You fail.
Oh, whatever. So sunlight will weaken or possibly kill the demon. Nichirin blades you can slice them, of course. And wisteria is a flower poisonous to demons. Releases a scent that can repel or exhaust a demon. Wisteria flowers can be used to create deadly and highly potent poison mixtures to easily kill certain demons. And in some cases, you can do nothing. It's entirely up to you. But we are going to go through Japanese history and pick out not real demons based on Japanese mythology.
You're a blasphemer.
Whoa.
Whatever.
You heretic.
Why?
Because it is
Whatever
totally real.
Okay. If you want to believe, you can believe and be a believer.
How dare you?
So how this game works is each
yokai.
round I will read you the description of a yokai, which is Japanese for ghost, maybe. And you each have to choose one of the attacks. The attacks, again, are Sunlight, your Nichiren Blades, and Wisteria. Or you can do nothing. And you have to decide between the two of you in order which attacks you will attack with.
So we can collaborate?
To defeat the yokai. So, for example, if I give you... let's say a Tengu, which is a certain type of tricky mountain goblin. You can say, I'll use Wisteria to slow it down and my Nichiren Blade to chop off his head.
I'm going to use Wisteria every time. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay.
So you said between the two of
Sometimes
us, we have to decide what to use first. So are we collaborating?
Yes, you're collaborating.
Okay.
This is a co-op game, if you will.
Okay.
Should I roleplay a character?
Sure. First demon. Kiyohime.
What's
Kiyohime was a young woman scorned by her lover, a monk named Anshin, who grew cold and lost interest in her. Realizing he had left her, Kiyohime followed him to a river and transformed into a serpent while swimming after his boat. Terrified by her monstrous form, Anshin sought refuge in a temple where monks hid him beneath a bell. Not to be evaded, Kiyohime found him by his scent, coiled around the bell, and banged loudly on it with her tail. Then she breathed fire into the bell, melting it and killing Anshin.
Damn.
By the way, thanks to mentalfloss.com, Victoria De Rosa, who wrote this back in 2014. Shout out. Go Google that to find the article that I'm basically reading this from.
Mental floss.
Yeah, thank
So,
her,
you as Demon
despite
Slayers,
all
how
of
would you
her
go about
controversial behavior.
killing this target? What'd you say?
Nothing.
Okay. How would you go about killing this target?
Well,
Wisteria!
it's a serpent, so it slathers around, and everybody
Right
knows.
through the Wisteria.
And everybody knows that the sun makes serpents stronger. And everybody also
They do
knows,
love a good sunbathe.
Everybody also knows that poison don't work on poison things because they nullify it. So I would say
I knew that.
you slice. We get 2 attacks only.
You each pick an attack.
Each pick an attack.
You each pick one attack.
Yes.
You can use the same attack if you both want to.
I want to go for blade. The blade.
But you have to decide the order too. Order matters.
What do you think?
All right. Yeah, I'll follow your logic. We do this non-verbally in the play out. So
Right.
I go for the Wisteria. He pulls out his blade, and I'm like, wait, Wisteria, poison, snake, no good. And then I pull out my blade, but I'll wait for him to strike because he's smarter than me.
Okay, so Marcus is striking first,
Sure.
Yep.
and then you're following up with your own strike.
Yes. Nichiren Blades.
Okay. Since Kiyohime finds her targets by scent, using Wisteria would weaken or likely kill her. And then you can use a Nichiren blade to decapitate.
But we didn't do that.
But you didn't do that. Instead, you fought the serpent. You sliced it, but you did not decapitate it because it's too quick. And then it breathes fire on you and you're dead. All right.
Womp womp.
Game over.
Womp womp, game over. No,
Let's
I
talk
got
about the
some
movie.
So that's a 0 for you guys. No points. Okay, the next one is... shit, did I put these out of order?
Wisteria.
Yuki Onna, or Snow Woman. There are many variations of this popular Japanese tale. Yuki Onna is usually described as having white skin, a white kimono, and long black hair. She appears in snowfall and glides without feet over the snow like a ghost. She feeds on human essence, and her killing method of choice is to blow on her victims to freeze them to death and then suck out their souls through the mouths.
Hot.
What do you guys think?
Sunlight, baby.
I will
Sunlight,
follow
okay.
his
Mel-
lead.
Mel-
Sunlight, and then nothing. Just sunlight.
I will lure her into the sunlight.
Okay.
And I will
And
stand back and sit in Seiza and meditate.
So you're both going with sunlight.
No, I'm doing nothing. We're just doing sunlight.
Oh, you're doing
That's
nothing.
it.
Okay. Okay.
Do you
so one
disagree?
sunlight and one nothing.
Marcus is choosing not to engage with the game that you've created for us.
He said no.
Well,
He
doing
said that
nothing
was
is
an
an
option.
option.
He said doing nothing
Oh,
is an
okay.
option.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry. Okay.
So the correct combination is sunlight, then wisteria. Sunlight will weaken her since she is in the snow, and wisteria will kill as she sucks it in when attempting to steal your soul.
Boogers.
No points for y'all.
So we
Did
die
we both
again.
die again?
Yeah, you're both dead again, but
All right.
you are being resurrected each time. This is actually, you're on the Mugen Train, so you're just having dreams over and over.
Okay.
Cool. Cut my own head off.
Training.
All right, the
dream.
next one. Shuten Doji is described as more than 50 feet tall with a red body, 5 horns, and 15 eyes. There's no need to fear this demon, though. In a legend from the medieval period, warriors Raiko and Hosho infiltrated Shuten Doji's lair, disguised as Yamabushi, or mountain priests, to free some kidnapped women. The Oni greeted them with a bouquet of human flesh and blood, and the disguised warriors offered Shuten Doji drugged sake. There's another sentence, but if I read it, that would be bad. For me. Okay.
Was
what do you
it
do?
drugged with wisteria?
Well, you decide.
Can I drug some sake with wisteria? Or he already fell for that. Wait. Did the things you read already happen? What timeline are we in?
Okay, he's back to life. He's attacking
Yeah.
again. So
Does
you
he
must-
remember his former life? Does he remember how?
No, he is. He's come back, but you are all. So you guys are now Ryoko and Hosho. So you're reliving history as
Put-
I speak. I
put
just
the
made
wis-
that up. So
Put the wisteria in the sake.
okay,
Put it in there. Infusion.
like a tea, like a peach tea, like a fruit infusion.
Yeah, like a fruit infusion, except with wisteria.
Okay. Then what, Marcus?
I defer to Alan because he's better at this game than I am. He was right
Well,
twice.
it's
I
two
was
attacks.
wrong
You both
twice.
got to do something. You can't
Well, you
do
already
nothing every time.
You already did nothing, so do not nothing this time.
What does this dumbass demon do?
He's really tall.
He's real tall. He has a
Super
bunch
tall.
of horns, and he's red.
He's red. He's got a red body, 5 horns, and 15 eyes.
15 eyes.
Wrap the. What if we do double wisteria?
I'll do wisteria and then sunlight because maybe it'll blind him or some shit. I don't know.
Okay. Man, you are bad at this game. Wisteria
like-
was the right first answer.
See?
If you had stuck with double wisteria, I would have given it to you. But since you did sunlight, that was just bad.
How the fuck am I
But
supposed to know?
The correct answer is Nichiren Blade. As the 50-foot beast falls from the poison, cut off his head. The last sentence is, after the demon passed out, the warriors cut off his head, killed the other Oni, and freed the prisoners.
Okay.
Well, now we know.
Now you know. Man,
How to defeat
you guys are
real
bad
life,
at this.
real life demons. I feel like you researching it, like it's more obvious to you. It
Well,
seems less hard to you than it really
You're
is.
right. You're right. And I would give it to you if you did things that made sense.
Well, the
But-
problem is none of this makes sense because all these mythologies are dumb.
Whoa, you can't say that.
Yeah,
All
check
right,
your
I got another
privilege, Marcus.
Yamaoba. Ooh. Mountain
Mouthful.
ogress.
Ogress?
Also originating in the medieval period, Yamaoba was generally considered to be old women who were marginalized by society and forced to live in the mountains, who also have penchant for eating human flesh. Among many tales, there is one of a Yamaoba who offers shelter to a young woman about to give birth while secretly planning to eat her baby. and another of a Yamaba who goes to village homes to eat children while their mothers are away. But they're not picky. They'll eat anyone who passes by. Yamabas also have mouths under their hair.
Whoa.
How do you kill this Yamaba?
Is this like Baba Yaga?
Baba Yaga.
Maybe. Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga.
Do they say they come by night?
No, didn't necessarily say that.
Okay.
Old broads who were shunned by society and eat children.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with blades. They're probably slow because they're old.
Okay.
So, cut them. Cut them good. Cut them down. Cut them up.
Marcus?
I'm gonna roll a fucking die.
I guess that's as good a
I have no idea how to
attempt
play
as
this
any.
game.
I will give you a hint.
Fuck yo hints.
According to Wikipedia, her only weakness is a certain flower containing her soul.
Well, Wisteria then.
Thank you. What order?
I feel like Wisteria should probably be first. I don't know.
Wisteria first.
Weaken her.
Wisteria first.
Weaken her and then cut her head off.
Cut her head off, sure.
Even though this was the answer to something else, I think.
That was the answer to the last one. But you got it wrong. But now you got this one right.
Yay, we did it.
Cool.
Yeah, you did. You killed one. You are officially Demon Slayer's part of the Demon Slayer Corps.
Now
Okay.
we can die in battle.
Yuji no Hashihami. Oh, wait, let me try that again. Yuji no Hashihime, woman at Yuji Bridge. In another tale of a woman scorned, Yuji no Hashihime prayed to a deity to turn her into an Oni so she could kill her husband, the woman he fell in love with, and all their relatives. To accomplish this, she bathed in the Uji River for 21 days, divided her hair into 5 horns, painted her body red with vermilion, and went on a legendary killing spree. Besides her intended victims, anyone who saw her instantly died of fear. Bam. How you gonna kill her?
Marcus, you go first this time.
God damn it! I don't want to.
I'll play off of you. Roll your damn die.
Marcus don't like this game. Don't like it.
Yeah, there's like hints that I can't see for some reason. She was sad and
Got to look at the reflection in AJ's glasses.
yeah,
See everything.
enhance.
Enhance.
Um,
Can you see that?
Not right now anymore. Are you enhancing? It looks like you're enhancing.
I'm not. I'm zoning out. Nichiren Blade, just because if I had a sword, that's what I would always use.
Okay, fair
I'm
enough.
like, fuck this.
If I had it,
Like, fuck this flower.
that's what I would do.
Fuck this flower. A and B, I can't control sunlight, so I would use the sword.
It's a sunlight power. It's not sunlight. You summon the sunstone in your hand, and you shoot beams of sunlight.
Was that explained that it's a sunlight power? I thought I was just like abstract.
I don't know.
Use the sunlight.
That's what I thought.
All right,
too.
It's abstract. It doesn't.
I'm gonna use my sunlight power because
Okay.
I like it and it makes me happy.
All right. Yeah. Since she cutting off her head, that would definitely kill her. And since she's, fear and light, you get the light to wash away the fear.
I feel like you're making
Something
this
like
shit
that.
up, and we got it wrong.
I'm making that up.
What was the real
But I'll give
answer?
it to
Because I
you.
know we got it wrong.
I was just gonna say two Nichiren blades
Okay.
because I didn't really have much for that. Okay, the next one. We're almost done. Where did my thing go?
Where's your dingo?
Yotsuya Kaiden Oiwa, or Oiwa for short. A revenge story made popular by the famous kabuki drama Yotsuya Kaiden. Oiwa was married to a ronin named Iemon. He wanted to marry a rich local's daughter who had fallen in love with him, and in order to end their marriage, Oiwa was sent a poisoned medicine. Though the poison failed to kill her, she became horribly disfigured, causing her hair to fall out and her left eye to droop. Upon learning of her disfigurement and betrayal, she accidentally killed herself on a sword. Her ghostly, deformed face appeared everywhere to haunt Iemon. It even appeared in place of his new bride's face, which caused Iemon to accidentally behead her. Oiwa's spirit followed him relentlessly to the point where he welcomed death.
Sunlight.
Well, she got poisoned first, and then she fell on her
She already
sword.
got poisoned. She already got sliced.
So neither one of those.
Nothing
then.
left to do but fry her up.
Double dose of sunlight.
All right.
Double sunstone.
I'll give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that. That's a logical approach. Very good. You use your sunlight power, double sunlight, and blast her with double sunlight beams, and she is banished to the realm of dead
Milk and honey.
spirits. Milk and honey. Yes.
Milk and honey's a good thing.
Not if you don't like milk or honey. Or honey milk.
All right, this next one.
Fucking hate honey.
Kuchisake. Kuchisake Onna, the slit-mouthed woman. In an urban legend from 1979 that swept through Japan, Kuchisake Onna wears a surgical mask and asks children if they think she's beautiful. If they say yes, she takes off her mask to reveal her mouth slit from ear to ear and ask the question again. The only way to escape is to give a non-committal answer, such as, "You look okay." Barring that, you can distract her with certain Japanese candies, but if the children say yes again, she will cut their mouths to make them look like her.
Yeah.
This is the most specific ass urban legend I've ever heard.
I looked this up on Wikipedia. There's a flowchart of how to answer her question.
Whoa.
That says if you answer yes, she'll slit your mouth open. If you answer no, if you answer yes, then she'll show you her face, and if you answer yes again, she'll cut your face open.
Do
If
you
say
have
no-
candy? Did you say yes?
Right. If you say no, she'll just kill you. I don't know.
Hold
Are
up.
you
kind of
currently
bitch.
drinking honey milk?
What? So how you escape just by going
Flowchart.
like, I don't know. And then what? She just gets confused and walks away?
She asks, "Am I pretty?" If you say no, she kills you with scissors. If you say yes, she takes off the mask and says, "How about now?" If you say no to that, she cuts you in half. If you say yes, she slits your mouth so it appears like hers.
It's like Joker. He goes, "Do you want to know how I got these scars?" And if you say
Exactly.
yes, he goes, "Why so serious?" And then he cuts you.
So you have to just not commit. What if you just don't say
You have to
anything?
say, you all right.
All right, so
but
that's my
you ain't all
that's my
that."
thing. We should do double do nothing.
shrug as hard as I can.
Yeah. Just
So you both shrug
show
super
her
hard?
a shrug emoji on your phone. Like, I don't know, bitch.
Super passive.
All right, so you both just do nothing.
Yep. I'm shrugging.
Yeah.
Shrugging hard.
Okay. Okay, so she is kind of confused. So she just kind of leaves. You didn't kill her. She just kind of leaves.
Sometimes you gotta let them.
So I don't know. I'll give you a half point for that, I guess.
Can we still join the core?
Man,
They're
leave it
just
to
like,
the Japanese
"What, you
to
just-
like
you
have
didn't
an
kill
urban
her?"
legend that involves like a fucking spreadsheet.
Right.
Most urban legends are like, I mean, they're all specific because it's like you got to turn the light off and spin around. But like, I like how this one even got more granular, where it's like, well, you gotta be non-committal, and then you have to distract her with candy.
Right.
And then
Yeah,
you got
they
to
had
make
all
sure
the,
that the train to Tokyo is 10 minutes from arrival. But if it's late, you'll die. But if it's early, then your mother has to call you and ask you for edamame for dinner.
Edamame. All right, I got one more. Akamanto, or Red Cloak. With a demon for just about everything, why shouldn't the Japanese have a few for their bathrooms? Akemanto, one of the more popular demons, hides in women's bathrooms. In one version of the story, Akemanto asks women if they would like a red cloak or a blue cloak. If the woman answers red, Akemanto tears the flesh from her back to make it appear as if she's wearing a red cloak.
Ugh.
If she answers blue, then he strangles her to death. Unfortunately, if you encounter Akemanto, there's no escaping. Some versions of the story say if you don't answer, or if you pick a different color, he will immediately drag you to hell. God, these are freaking dark, man. Hey, watch out. You can tell your kids that shit, like, hey, watch out for Akemanto. He might be in the bathroom. He's going to rip your skin from your back and turn you into a red cloak.
Damn,
That's awful.
Dude. Yeah, man. This shit's hardcore, man. I'd be scared if I was in Japan, but I'm not, so I'm cool. We just gotta fuck around with like Bloody Mary and
It's
all
like,
that.
do you really tell your kids this stuff, or is this just like, this is like teenagers? Like,
Makes the boogeyman look like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, I know.
seriously. Do you want to be strangled or have your skin?
Yeah,
ripped from
flayed
the
or
body?
strangled or dragged to hell.
Or dragged
Like I
straight
won't
to
maim
hell.
you, but you just got to get dragged to hell through this fucking.
I want to get dragged to hell so that I can kill him in his domain.
Ooh, so first move is
Can
do
I
nothing.
can I hold, can I ready in action? Can I do nothing but have
Sure.
my Nichiren blade ready
Yes.
for when we're on our way to hell? So as he's pulling me down to hell, I assume we're falling for a long time, and I'm just going to fall with my sword onto him when we land, because it's going to
Okay.
be that easy. He's going to be right there.
Marcus, do you follow suit? Or do you let Alan take the glory and
Then
become
I'll
member
jump
of the
out of the
Demon
way,
Slayer
and then you
Corps?
can stab him right after
Well,
me.
if we
It'll
go
be
to
awesome.
hell, there's no sunlight in hell because sunlight is pure. So yeah, you can stay that action, pin them to the hell ground, and then I'll unleash the sun blast and purify their vile souls.
All right. I'll give
We
it to you.
won.
That was good. Good job. You guys banished him to hell, stuck him to the fleshy ground of hell, and opened up the sunlight to disintegrate him back to more hell.
Lesser hell.
No, now he just to non-existence.
Now he's in the
To
land of milk and
non-existence.
honey, and he hates it.
It's awful. He can't strangle. He can't
The
fillet
milk
them,
is
he
all
can't do
curdled
anything.
because he's all hot. I don't know where I got that he's hot. Probably because of the hell thing. But the honey is too like burnt and charred. He can't enjoy it. And the milk is curdled because he's too hot. And it's just terrible for him.
Yeah, he got a shitty life. Stupid demon. Just get out of the bathroom, you nasty freaking idiot.
Yeah,
That's where people poop.
you weirdo.
That's the game, you guys. I guess, yeah, you won, sure. You're
Yes.
now official members of the Demon Slayer Corps, but you're the lowest level because you didn't kill them
Novice.
all.
Novice swordsman.
But you can have it. You're good.
Well, all right.
And now we can talk about Demon Slayer.
Chugga 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 chugga. Sorry.
Can't understand either one of you when you do that.
We did the train thing. All aboard.
I mean, I know what
Nobody
you were
needs to
doing.
actually understand what you're saying. It's like the whistle. It's like,
This is the Mugen Train. I'm Tom Hanks.
What?
All aboard the Mugen
Is that
Train.
Polar,
We got
is
hot
that a Polar
chocolate.
Express reference?
Hot
Yes.
chocolate on the Mugen Train. Here's your ticket. It's a B.
Believe.
Oh. We're gonna go see Santa Claus.
In hell.
He's gonna kick you in the nuts.
That'd be an awesome combination. Like all the kids from Polar Express, but it's a Mugen Train, so they just fall asleep and get devoured by demons.
That actually sounds like a Japanese urban legend.
It seriously
Yeah,
does.
Yeah, fucking a demon dressed like Santa Claus tricks
yeah.
the children in the
Promises-
town. that he's gonna take him to the North Pole, but really he takes him to hell and devours him on the way.
If it's too good to be true, probably is.
Strangles them on the way and consumes their souls through their mouths.
But the hot chocolate is delicious.
The hot chocolate puts you to sleep.
So were we gonna get right into Mugen Train, or did you guys want to discuss other things first?
I'll just throw this out there. We talked about watching Mars Red, and then we talked about watching Tokyo Revengers, and some of us watched those and some of us didn't.
Me.
And then we ultimately watched Mugen Train. And so that's what we're going to talk about. I think we should just table Tokyo Revengers for another time.
Okay. Yeah, maybe do that next
As a high level, I do enjoy it so far. We're only 3 episodes out, so I think it's enjoyable. It's kind of the kid gets his ass kicked a lot, and it's by like bullies, and it's kind of like, dang, he should be dead. But no, it's a good story so far. Mars Red sucks ass. I couldn't get into it, so I don't know how you felt about it, Alan, but
Shut your stupid face. How about that?
Oh.
okay. You did not agree. That's fine.
I liked it. I feel like it kind of got, I don't know. I feel like it started really strong. I was really intrigued, and then it just kind of settled into like these characters who weren't super interesting, but like the setup is really interesting. They got a secret vampire unit in World War One. Is that right? I don't know history.
Yeah, something like
It's probably
that.
one because, well, it takes place in 23? I read the synopsis even though I didn't watch it.
That sounds
1923, yeah, so WW1 ish.
Did WW1 did that war last that long?
I should know, but I don't, because...
I don't know. I'm not a historian.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not a historian. Get off my back.
1914 to 1918, so post World War One, pre World War Two.
Right. Yeah, I was like, that sounds a little late.
Yeah, that's what
Donnie's
I said.
shaking
I
his
thought it
head.
sounded a little late. But
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't love it. I thought it was kind of slow. I thought it was kind of dumb, but I don't know. Maybe I'll watch a few more and see what happens.
You just weren't in the right mood. You got to try again.
That might have been true. Maybe I'll try it again.
I was going back and forth between Mars Red and Tokyo Revengers. So it was a little weird, but they strangely balanced each other. So I felt like I was able to keep a point of reference, like to compare both of them, because they're very different. I don't know where Tokyo Revengers is going. Like, that's the other thing where it started off strong, but like the longer it goes on, I'm just like, this is getting nonsensical. The things they're doing aren't making sense. And I don't know.
Yeah, I can
think
see that being an issue with it.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's going to be like, oh, delinquents are like good people. They're just misunderstood. It feels like that's where it's going. But yeah,
That dude's
I don't
too
know.
happy to be the leader of a mafia.
Yeah, and it's just this mix of like they're all beating the shit out of each other all the time, but they're also like cracking jokes and like being really friendly to each other. And I don't know, it's weird. I didn't really think about what I was gonna say about it, but
It's a strange show that I'm enjoying. But yeah, I think you're right. It could easily go off the rails and become something really dumb. But we'll see. People like it sometimes. But we'll table that. Maybe we can watch it, watch that whole series at some point, or watch a good chunk of it until we get bored. Pull a high-rise
evacuation.
No, that's what you did. We didn't do that shit with High Rise Invasion.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'll see it through to the end. You guys can bail halfway through.
Yeah, you have to.
you mean
You're
you mean
legally
a third?
obligated.
A third of the way through. After forcing ourselves beyond a sixth of the way through.
Let's talk about the good movie,
Demon Slayer.
Mugen Train.
Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Marcus,
Mugen Train.
give us a synopsis, and then we'll go into spoiler territory.
Okay. So, For those of you who are not familiar with Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, that'd be really odd if you're listening to this podcast and you're not familiar with it. Anyway, it was a hit show that came out in 2019, and it's about Tanjiro, who is a guy who lives in northern part of Japan, and he's just a rural boy living in the woods with his cute old family, and they get slaughtered by demons. And his sister turns into one, and he's all like, you can't be one. We got to figure out how to turn you back. So then he enlisted to the Demon Slayer Corps so he can kill demons and find the guy that turned his sister into one and hopefully turn her back somehow with science and magic or something. Anyway, this movie takes place right after the first season. It is a part of the, or not a part, but in total it tells the Mugen Train arc story in the manga in its entirety. Not entirely sure what the reason was that they decided to do this arc of the manga as a movie, but I mean, after watching it, I thought it worked. Talking to people who have read the manga, they said it worked. It made sense because I guess the arc itself is kind of short comparatively. So yeah, it follows Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke on a mission to find the Flame Hashira, Rengoku, forget what his last name is, to suss out this demon that's been killing people on this train. So they're hanging out with this guy that's super strong and is in the upper echelon of Demon Slayer Corps to help him out with this mission. And I'll stop there. And I guess we want to give our high level before we get into spoiled territory for people that may have not seen it yet.
Kyojiro
Rengoku.
What's his name?
It's his full name.
Rengoku-san.
Rengoku-san.
Alan, did you watch it dubbed or subbed?
Subbed.
As
Good
did
call.
we.
So I usually, if I watch an anime, I don't bother reading the manga because pretty much the same story. But in this case, I did go back and read the arc because it's so short. I think if you want to follow along, it starts around chapter 56. And I think it ends around 70. 70, I think, is one, maybe like a scene or two past where the movie ends. But just to kind of get a feel for, how it compares to the movie, and pretty much scene for scene, I think maybe they shifted how things kind of like, I think they shifted the dream sequences. Like they showed Tanjiro's first, I think, when they went into the dream world before they showed everybody else's. But other than that, like scene by scene, pretty much the same. And visually, like, it's hard to beat a movie like this because it just does everything perfectly. Like all those like hard lines around all the characters and like the animation on the attacks and all that stuff. Like it looks really, really good. The only thing I would say as a precaution, if you have not watched Demon Slayer and you're not familiar with it, this movie will make very little sense to you. And I think overall, I've said this before to some people, but I'll say it again. It's good. It's a good anime movie. I wouldn't say it's a good Hollywood movie. And it's kind of disappointing because when I see like, oh, Japan, this is the best-selling movie, like it's done better than all these movies, and it's the best-selling movie ever. That builds a lot of hype. So I'm like, oh, even if I'm not like super into Demon Slayer, which I am, I like Demon Slayer. But as an anime fan, like if I'm not super into Demon Slayer, this should still be a good movie. If you don't like Demon Slayer, you're not going to like this movie because it's just more Demon Slayer. So, from that perspective, oh my gosh, sorry. From that perspective, it's hard to say it's like the greatest anime movie ever. It's certainly not. But if you are a fan of Demon Slayer, you will definitely enjoy this movie. Alan, what'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. About 5 minutes in, I was just like, oh yeah, I love this show, this thing. I love Demon Slayer. And I was just really happy to spend more time in this world with these characters. I thought they did a good job of still kind of developing Tanjiro a little bit within the limited kind of scope of the movie. Action's great. Like there's a lot of cool stuff happening. Like the art is sick and the action is awesome. And yeah, it's easy to forget that like one of the best things about the show is the jokes. So yeah, they remind you of that pretty early on.
Yeah, the second you meet Rengoku, he's sitting on the train eating.
Yeah, and like it makes perfect sense because they they've got all this heavy, like violent, like dark stuff, like demons and death and like threats to human life and people on a train, and what are they gonna do?
And like
this dude
people on the train.
Yeah, they could die because a lot of people. I was like trying not to give too much away,
right.
But there is a train with people on it, so who knows what could happen there. But yeah, you meet this like he's like this high level badass, and he's just like a goofball. He talks really like straightforward, but like without any like decorum at all. He's just straight up calls him novice swordsman. But anyway, I really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Marcus?
I liked it. I think I'm in your camp, AJ, where it's unfortunate because I freaking love Demon Slayer so much that like I've convinced people to watch it that were thinking about not watching it. And usually like I'm pushy about my opinions, but I'm not really pushy about what people actually watch. So I'll get in an argument at the drop of a needle, like with somebody about why something's good or bad. But if somebody's like, I don't want to watch something, I'm like, okay, like that's fine. But with this show, like I would hear people like, oh, like I heard about it, but I'm not that interested. I'm like, no, like you don't understand. Like this is just way too good of a show. And like before My Hero Academia, I kind of swore off shonen because I was tired of shonen. And that show and this show were the two that are like, well, I guess I'm watching shonen again because they both do it so well. And I think Demon Slayer does it even better. So yeah, anyway, the reason why I mentioned my love for the show is like that combined with the fact that, when it was announced that there was going to be a movie at the tail end of the first season, we were just waiting, because we knew it was greenlit. And then it was announced that the movie's coming out and we're like, dope. And then it comes out in Japan in like early 2020. And we're like, sweet. When are we going to get it? And we just don't know. There's no news for months and months and months. All these stupid articles online that are trying to guess. And it's like, don't tell me when you think the movie's going to come out based on some bullshit that doesn't make any sense. Like, I want to know specific dates,
Those clickbait articles, man.
Right, exactly. So there was just so much hype built around it. And then hearing how successful, like you said, hearing how successful it did in Japan, it's like, this has to be the most amazing movie ever. And then you see it and it's like, yeah, this really just feels like a series condensed into a movie, because as a movie itself, it almost feels like two, and we can get into the details of that, when we get into spoiler territory. But, so it's not like, as a movie, it's not super amazing to me, but that's just because like it's the story is a series that's it's a part of a series that's told in about 2 hours. So it's like it has a weird balance of like developing story, but then there's just jokey parts, and then there's the whole shonen thing where they just explain things that they should rather just do, and it would be more interesting rather than listening to a guy talk for 5 minutes about what he's doing. Where in a show format, it's like you kind of get away with it more for whatever reason. I don't know. But all of that being said, I did still enjoy it because, like you were saying, Alan, it is like, oh yeah, this is what this show is. You forget a lot of the little things that makes the show special. Because obviously you're gonna think about the animation when it comes to Demon Slayer. You're gonna think about like how awesome Tanjiro is as a character, and the power ups and moves and things like that. But yeah, you forget the specific brand of humor that it brings, which is fun when you're there, experiencing it, and just the overall tone and feel of the show. You can forget about that stuff when you spend some time away from it. So still a win overall. I just feel like I wanted it so bad and had to wait so long for it that I don't know exactly what it would have had to do to meet my expectations wholesale, but still a good time. And I mean, the end, okay, like the end was amazing. So that, like, it was still money and time well spent, and I can't wait for season 2.
Yep, and I agree. And that's the thing, like, okay, we'll get into spoiler territory now. When you start watching it, like it I was thinking of like what could this movie do that would make it so amazing that it would be, top selling ticket sales for whatever. And I was thinking like, man, if they did it, I didn't realize that it was a continuation of the manga when I went into it. I didn't realize that till afterwards. So I was like, okay, and typically these movies are original stories. They're not necessarily canon. So that's kind of what I was expecting. And then it got into it and it felt very, like you said, like a continuation of the anime, which isn't a problem per se, but it's also not, it doesn't really set itself up for good movie plot because it is shonen, and shonen plots are, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. In this case, because it was such a shortened arc, and they can tell it in, under 2 hours, I think it probably was for the best, because if you expand this out to episodic, what do you get? 4 or 5 episodes out of it, which isn't much of an arc. And it would be hard to, if you're doing 24 episode seasons, that wouldn't be too bad. But I think it lends itself well to a movie, but also it's still shonen, and it's still, like you said, things are explained that don't need to be explained. I'm a fan of the show, not necessarily tell approach to storytelling. And shonen's not exactly known for that.
Yeah, shonen anime.
So those parts kind of fool me.
Yeah,
over.
shonen anime, it's funny. It's like the powers and the strategy is actually a part of the story. Which, if you're down for that, that's cool. But, after a while.
The specific scene that I'm thinking of is when the dream demon, I can't remember his name, is explaining that even though his head was cut off, he's not dead because he's part of the train now. Which I guess the only way to go about that is to explain it. I mean, it's how it happened in the manga, but there's probably a better, more artistic approach to showing that, oh, you cut off his head, but he didn't die. Oh, he's a part of the train now, and they're all together. So now you have to cut the train's head off, more or less. And the way he explained it for like 2 or 3 minutes was okay, this is classic.
Yeah, that part
shonen.
didn't bother me as much because you did need to understand what happened, because Tanjiro, when he finds them at the head of the train and they're having the battle on the top, he cuts his head off, and then you are asking the question, why didn't he die? So that, it feels very shonen and exposition dump. But the thing that bothered me the most is when he's up on the train by himself, just talking to himself and just explaining, like, this is why I did this, because my power is like this, and nobody's there. Like, he's just talking with his annoying ass voice by himself, like being all weird and shit. And it's like, all right, man, you eating up movie time. Like, let's go. Like, we only gonna be here for 2 hours. So like, I want something more interesting to happen because it's not a series. You know, it's not like I'm about to watch these 23 minutes or whatever. And then if that episode sucks, it's like, all right, well, maybe next week they get, you know, it gets better or whatever. So I guess I'm willing to take a lull in a series easier than I am to take a lull in the movie because I'm like, come on, man. Like, I'm about this whole package. Like, I want this whole package, if possible, to be good. But, like, it's like when you see a movie and somebody asks you, like, hey, how was it? And you're like, it was pretty good. But there was, like, man, in the middle, like, it got slow. Like, my eyes started drooping. Like, I feel like that's worse than, like, last week's episode sucked. Because it's
right.
It's partitioned, so you can kind of, I don't know, deal with it better. At least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. And I think, you know, it is shonen. It is episodic by nature because of the fact that it's written into chapters. But yeah, I didn't find the dude's voice. I thought it fit pretty well. I mean, it was awkward and it was like unsettling. And that's what I liked about it. But I could easily see how you could interpret it as annoying.
Yeah, it's not like I didn't think his character wasn't supposed to be unlikable. So it wasn't like I thought the voice actor did a bad job. It wasn't that at all. It was, I don't really like this character, and I'm not really supposed to. So hearing him talk in a conversation with somebody, that's fine. But when you're just like on the top of the train talking to yourself, overly explaining what you're doing. Like, I'm annoyed by what you're doing. So then if I am annoyed by your voice a little bit, all of a sudden that's like cranked up to 10 because I'm like, I want story to progress, not really just like an explanation of your powers, which I mean is something that Demon Slayer in the first season, like they did that a lot too. Like Faith always jokes like every time I come into this show, they're just explaining what they're about to do in the fight. And I'm like, there is a lot of that. It's probably the only thing in the show that I don't like because I love everything else. It would just be that one thing. Yep. It's and I get it. It's a shonen thing, but it's like, man, I wish it wasn't, you know, and that's one thing that I do appreciate about American cartoons when we do something that kind of is reminiscent of anime, because you watch like a Korra or, you know, Avatar or Castlevania, and when they fight, they just fucking fight. And you just watch and you're like, okay, I get it. Like, his firepower is stronger than that other person's water power. And they didn't spend 5 minutes talking about like how he's trained so hard since he was 6. It's just like, I've been following this character along and I've seen him get better the whole time. So I understand that when he matched up against this other dude, he just beat his ass because of all the work that I saw in, you know, the first however many episodes, rather than like, oh my God, it is amazing how much capacity he has for this technique. And I mean, they don't sound like that, but
well, in a lot of ways, that's anime in general, right? I mean, not every anime, but a
it's
lot
all
of anime.
shonen. So like if you watch Sin and stuff doesn't do it as much. Sometimes it does, but like, you know, a show like Berserk, they do it a little bit, but they don't do it a lot. Guts just spends a lot of time breaking people in half with his big ass sword. And you understand why he's so strong because you saw his terrible life, you know, and how like, if he wasn't as strong as he was, he would have been dead a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, or think about a show like Cowboy Bebop or Samurai Champloo. They just fucking fight. Why are they good? Because they are. Because they're the best guys.
Right.
That's just what they do, you know? So.
Yeah, and I mean, there's something to be said about the fact that you don't know everything happening all at the time. Like, anytime there's an exposition dump, whether it's introducing a series of characters all at once, I can't stand that. I think Attack on Titan did that. Like, here's this character and their name, and this is what they do. And
that's kind of what they did at the end of Demon Slayer, the first season. They introduced like all the Hashiras.
Right.
And
it's like, dude, I'm not going to remember these.
Yeah, I was.
Don't even bother.
Then they showed them all at the end too, and it was just like, oh yeah, that's person. Oh yeah, that person. Oh yeah, that person. There's like 8 of them or some shit. Well, there's 9. There were 9.
I thought there were 8, and now there are 7. Is it the 9 pillars?
I thought he
or
said
is it the
he
8
was.
pillars?
I think he was saying one of the 9. He's one of the 9
so there's
pillars.
8 now. All right, gotcha.
I actually thought it was 8. There's the 5 main, and then there's like 3 offshoots of that. Is that true?
No, that was something else. The 5 main was just
those were the types of powers,
sources of power or whatever. The breathing techniques.
There you
the
go.
Forms.
Yeah, because it's the basic
Gotcha.
elements, and then there are offshoots like water, fire, like wind and whatever breathing are the main ones, and then there was some offshoots like mist is a combination of air and water, and so on and so forth.
They like low key shit on Inosuke because they were like flame, like all right, that's Rengoku, and water is Tanjiro, and thunder is Zenitsu. And like like all the other ones are derivatives of that. It's like, man, they shit on beast breathing.
Well, beast breathing,
low key.
Beast breathing isn't one of them. He made that shit up. Yeah,
really? Awesome.
They mention it. They're like, yeah, he completely just made his own thing.
He fucking does it because he's
Yeah, because
awesome.
he just makes life whatever he wants it to be because it's Inosuke. Because he's ridiculous.
Inosuke, like, honestly, he made that movie for me. Because he's so over the top and, like, just ridiculous. And, like, anytime that someone's, like, throwing a fit or not getting it done, he's just like, all right, I'm just going to do this. And then he does it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, he's
kind of like that
like
through the
pushing,
show, too.
He's good for pushing the plot forward, too. Or, like, interrupting somebody in the middle of, like, a monologue or crying or something. Like,
Right.
even at the end where, like, everybody's been crying for, like, 10 minutes. And he's finally, like, you know, quit talking like that. Quit being so down or whatever. Like, he's, like, crying, too. But I was like, that's really the only way out of that. They kind of dug themselves into a hole, and it was like, all right, thanks Inosuke for saving
Right. Yeah.
the ending.
Speaking of the crying at the end, I mentioned to Marcus as we were walking out of the theater that Alan's probably going to love this with all the Deku levels of crying that were going on.
Yeah, dude. Like,
the tears are so big too.
yeah, they're huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I didn't mind it here. As you guys were talking about it, I was thinking and like comparing the hype to the to the actual movie and the experience of watching it. I was like, I think I liked it a whole lot once. I think if I watched it again, I'd be like, oh, this isn't that good. I was just really happy to be enjoying more Demon Slayer and to actually be watching the movie finally. But yeah, like you mentioned, the villain monologuing forever and like all the crying and all the over explanation. Yeah, I think it's good. It's good the first time you watch it. I don't know if it would stand up to additional viewings.
I don't know. Because there's a lot that I think it's hard because you come out of a movie like that expecting the greatest movie ever, and then it's not. And then you kind of get down on it and you're like, yeah, this is the reasons I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But then on a second watch, I think I would appreciate it more knowing that it wasn't going to be the greatest movie ever and knowing exactly what it is, which is just more Demon Slayer.
Yeah. Well, you guys watched it before me, and AJ, I think you kind of did me a favor when I was like, how was it? And you were like, it was good, but didn't live up to the hype. And I'm like, well, nothing could live up to that hype.
Right.
So I think that kind of set my notch a little lower. And also it's been so long. Like I can't maintain hype for as long as, we've been waiting for this movie. So I was like, all right, well, whatever. It is what it is. It's going to be like, I'm going to enjoy it. And I did, but like, I'm not expecting to be blown away. Cause it just can't, the hype machine is too intense.
It's hard when like the entire anime community is like gushing over this movie.
Yeah.
And like everyone's jazzed to see it and everyone's coming out of the theater like, oh, it was the best. This is my favorite movie. And it's like, this thing's going to be great. I can't wait for this.
Well, the thing that's crazy is it actually transcended the anime community because you have like articles written about it in fucking like just mainstream like online papers and magazines. And that's the thing that was so crazy. You know, when you see like, I don't know if there was a New York Times article, but you see an article from a publication of that ilk saying, oh, turns out this movie over in Japan did better than Titanic over there. That's crazy. You know, so you have people that are just general pop culture and media journalists talking about this thing. Like, it's not just from, you know, Polygon or comicbook.com or something like that. So I think that's really what elevated the hype in my mind, at least. And it's because it's coming off of a show that was so goddamn good. So it's really believable. It's very believable that it would be the best thing ever, because when you, like, I haven't mentioned that show to anybody and they come back and go like, what were you talking about? That wasn't good. Like, people always were like, yeah, you were right. Because I remember there was this one girl I used to work with. She was like, I only like watching stuff dubbed. Like, I hate watching subs. I'm like, okay, well, when are you watching it? Like, you watching it in the background or something? She's like, well, I watch it usually when I'm on my bike. And I'm like, okay, so you're not doing anything but pedaling, so you can read, right? She's like, yeah, you're right. And then she comes back after she finishes it and she's like, yeah, you were right. Like, I'm super glad I watched it. And I'm like, see? You know? And so yeah, I mean, it's just, it was set up. It was just the perfect setup to be built to this big thing in our hearts and minds.
But the thing is, like, how do you explain that to someone who's not a Demon Slayer fan or even an anime fan? Like, why is this the greatest movie ever? And so that might turn someone to say, hey, I'm going to check this movie out since everyone loves it. And then they watch it and they're like, what the hell's going on? Because you really have no idea what's going on if you have not watched Demon Slayer. And like, I think you can enjoy it, but it's not nearly as enjoyable as if you were.
Yeah, I don't know if you could. It would be really hard to enjoy it without knowing. Like, water breathing 10th form is like, okay, what the hell does that mean? They just keep pulling out these amazing moves. Like, sure, you can appreciate the action and the art, but, you know, you really, who's this guy? Who's that guy? Why does this matter? What's a Hashira? You know, what's a waxing moon? Who cares? Who's Muzan? You know, who's Nezuko? Like, what?
Why is this girl in a box?
Yeah, why does she have a thing? Why is she, like, gagged or whatever? Yeah, there's too many questions. If you're coming in fresh off the streets to this movie, don't.
Yeah, it's not for that. That's not the purpose. The purpose of it wasn't to be a cash grab. Well, maybe it was a cash grab, but if it was a different kind of cash grab. It wasn't like a My Hero movie where it's like, this show is, and this manga is super popular, so let's do a box office release. Like, let's do a feature film, and all right, we got to get together and we got to write it. And we got to decide like what's the theme of the movie going to be. Like, let's work with the mangaka and see like what other ideas he had for the show that didn't actually make it into the manga and blah, blah, blah. This wasn't that. This was, we have more story to tell. Let's do it in a different way, whether that's for creative reasons or if it's for practical reasons. Like, that was the drive. It's a different driver. So it's not even that. And that's what's so crazy about it. It's not even a movie to increase the fan base. I don't feel like it's just a movie. It's almost like fan service. Like, hey guys, you guys love this. You guys love this manga and this show so much. We're just going to do the next part of it as a movie. So, hey, come see it, because we're fucking awesome and it's going to be great.
Well, and that's why I kind of expected it to be this non-canon original story that anyone could get into, anyone could, you know, understand and appreciate story-wise, but it is not that at all.
I'm glad they didn't retread that stuff, though. If they'd had to do like little, you know, dumps of like, here's Tanjiro's backstory real quick and here's Zenitsu real quick, like, that would have ate up more screen time.
Depends how they did it. If they did it smartly and it didn't bother like the people who've already seen the show, I think it could have been pulled off.
The problem is they have too much. I guess they kind of did that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they kind of did Tanjiro where his dream was his family's alive again. So like you could have deduced that, like, okay, he lost his family and it was really sad. And they kind of explained Nezuko that way too. Cause I was thinking, I was like, wait, is the little girl Nezuko? Like, they haven't really made a big deal about Nezuko in his dream yet. And then you finally see her and I'm like, okay.
I might be misremembering, but I think the manga did not have Nezuko in his dream. I could be wrong on that.
Well, that's the part of the story that if you hadn't watched the first season, that you wouldn't even get it, because they don't explicitly explain like what happened to Nezuko. You just know that you don't. If you're familiar with the story, you notice her glaring absence from like the beginning part of his dream, where he's back home and all of his siblings are there. You already know his father's dead, so that's another thing they don't explain. And his mother's there, and since me being familiar with it, I'm like, Nezuko's not in his dream. Is she not in the dream because she's still alive and he's just remembering his dead family? Like, or is this a setup to be like she's going to be the one who intrudes on his dream to wake him up, which kind of happens. I thought it was kind of slick how they did it, because it was like an indirect influence. It wasn't like she popped in the dream and was like, hey, you got to wake up. He like kind of sensed her based on what was going on in the outside world. I liked that. I thought it was cool to do it more subtle. But anyway, you end up seeing her later when he realizes he is sleeping and he needs to try to find a way to wake up. And then he's running, and then all of a sudden she says Tanjiro, and he stops and like freaking, does he fall? I can't remember if he falls, but he basically just like stops in his tracks and like
he drops his sword.
drops his sword, which was dope. Like, I love that, because the sword in my mind is like, the symbology of the sword is that's the whole reason he's fighting, is to get her back to normal. So him dropping the sword is like, it's like, oh shit, like, is he gonna just stay in this dream now? Because the whole thing that he wants is just to turn her back to normal. And he hears her voice for the first time in like, 5 years? Not 5 years. It's been like maybe 2 years. Or however long he's been training and like been in the Demon Slayer Corps. It's been a number of years since he's actually heard her voice. So that moment is super powerful. But you have to have seen at least like the first half of the series. Yeah. So it's not serving the purpose of a traditional movie that's based on an anime, where it's like, let's get more people into this thing if they haven't started watching. It's like, no, this is for the people that's already into it, and we're just telling the story in this big budget way. That's awesome. And I guess with that, like, we should start talking about what we liked, because there is so much good in it. And what I think is, it's like any series where there are good episodes and okay episodes. I don't think anything was bad in this movie, as much as it was just kind of like, this part was boring and this part was great. But when they're intruding in their dreams and they expand on his character by him going into the dream and remembering his family and having to fight himself, because he's like, oh, I want to stay here forever, because my whole life is driven by the fact that I lost them brutally, but I need to remember that this is fake, and I still have the mission of returning my sister to herself in the real world, so she still needs me. It's like, that shit is fucking great. And if this was told in an episodic form rather than a movie, those 1, 2, 3 episodes would be fucking fantastic episodes by themselves, rather than being part of a movie that was a combination of like really good parts and then okay parts.
Yeah, that's a good point of how you break it up, like, because you would have had those solid moments for at least 3 episodes. I think overall, like, pacing wise, I thought it was pretty good. Like you said, there's a few slow parts that could have done with, maybe some trimming, or, do it in a different way than just a character standing there, spouting out exposition and, telling everything that's going on. But other than that, like, it's a well-paced movie for the most part. I don't think I was bored at any point. The thing I thought was strange was like the kids that they were going into their dreams to try to, shatter their spirit core or whatever it was. you didn't get a whole lot of where they came from or what happened to them afterwards, which I thought was a little strange.
Yeah, they got knocked out and never came back.
Yeah, so I guess you could just say they're part of the people who were saved on the train, but
I guess they were just puppets of the villain, and then once...
Yeah, and they didn't really explain the whole "I want to have dreams again" thing.
Yeah, they were too
which I thought
busy
was
explaining like how their powers worked when they could have been explaining like
right.
why these kids ended up getting tricked or whatever. Or explaining the dream things, because they're like, I want to have good dreams too. The assumption I made is that they're all in really shitty spots in life. Like the one kid that you get the most info is that he has like tuberculosis or something. The girl says it offhand. Right. So his thing is kind of like, my life is trash, and this demon promised me that I would have like good dreams. And then the train conductor was like, I just want to be with my dead wife again, my dead wife and daughter, I think. So instead of like killing himself, he was enticed by this demon being able to put him in a dream where he can be with them, because everybody on the train was given a pleasant dream. So you can assume a lot, but if you're going to explain something, go ahead and explain that. And maybe you do like a quick scene clip in the beginning of the movie where, these kids are just being approached by this dark figure, and you don't even see the dark figure's face, but you just see that all of these downtrodden kids who are much like Paranoia Agent, in a moment of disparity, the end of their rope, and this guy is like, offering them, a piece of salvation.
What is it? Backs against the wall or whatever.
Specifically.
Oh no, they felt cornered. They felt cornered.
Yeah.
I think I'm fine with extrapolating like the other three kids from the one, like he promised them a more pleasant existence than the one they currently had, and all they had to do was like this little thing for him. I can understand them not spending more time on that. What I wanted more of was more time with Zenitsu and Nezuko.
Zenitsu's fucking awesome. I love him so much.
Yeah, and just like give those two a moment or something. They had a little moment in Zenitsu's dream, but
his dream was amazing.
His dream was hilarious. His face is
I love his face.
Too bananas, too hilarious. No, yeah, it's great. I wanted more of him. Like he did like two things. Like he had his dream, and then he thundered out for a little bit, and that was about it.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, when's he gonna do something? And I understand. I actually don't understand. They should have spent more time with him. They should have given us more Zenitsu. That's what I'm sticking with. That's how I feel.
And maybe that's like the biggest fault of the movie, is that it stuck too much to the manga, and took basically scene for scene from the manga, where they could have added more scenes.
Yeah, well, you talked about if it had been episodic, like you would have had more like more cutaways to like the Hashiras and like what they're planning and what they're talking about, and kind of setting up for the reveal of this, the waxing moon, who is the higher level demon under the big bad, because he just kind of shows up.
Yep.
Right. I feel like they could have set that up more, and like I think you said, Marcus, like it's basically two movies, and the last 45 minutes is just a big fight. Like a Dragon Ball Z style, like we're just gonna fight and like talk about our powers and try to convince, like he's just constantly trying to convince Rengoku to come to the other side. And like it's fun. It's fun because Rengoku is like, our ideals are incompatible. Like you'll never convince me, and like they go back and forth like one too many times, where he invites him to become a demon and live forever and get infinitely stronger, and like of course he says no, and again and again and again. But yeah, they didn't. I forget where I was going with that. I always do this.
Well, and it's a victim of its own existence, because let's follow the manga scene for scene, panel for panel, and not stray from that at all, because that's basically what they did. And they always elaborate on the powers and the attacks and all that stuff, and everything's drug out just a little bit more. But story wise, it hits all the marks. They get off the train, and what's his name, Akaza, he's right there, and they fight.
Yeah, this guy that hasn't been in the movie the whole time, who you didn't even think was a threat. Like, you thought the movie's over because they defeat the demon that is the train, through fucking awesome tactics. Tanjiro figures out how to wake up from the dream by committing suicide over and over.
Okay, yeah, I want to talk about that because it is shonen, and being that it is shonen, you have to find new ways. I mean, shonen is just variations on a theme. Like, how can we put characters in a situation where we can demonstrate how badass they are? And what they did in this movie was like, all right, everyone's asleep on a train. How do they snap out of it? Tanjiro ends up putting his own sword to his neck and cutting his own head off to wake up. So then as it develops, there's this demon who keeps putting him to sleep, and he keeps waking up right away. And you realize, like, wow, dude is like cutting his own head off repeatedly. Every time this thing puts him to sleep, he's just, cutting his own neck, and like he's back in it. And you're just like, damn, that's some badass shit.
And once Inosuke,
Inosuke, yep,
forehead, stops him from cutting his own head off in the real world.
That was dope.
Yeah, that was cool. I was wondering if I figured that was going to happen at some point. I just wasn't sure how it was going to play out. And the way it did play out, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know how else it could have gone that would have been more satisfying to kind of see that happen, because obviously he can't kill himself in the real world. But no, the way they did it was perfect.
Yeah, that was really kept
satisfying.
doing it because he gets put to sleep by looking into the demon's eyes. So he's then saying, like, I have to wake up and try to have my eyes closed. And he keeps trying to do it and can't. And then all of a sudden he gets to the point where he can. And Inosuke wears a boar head, so the demon can't really tell where his eyes are looking, so he can't manipulate him like he can manipulate Tanjiro. So Tanjiro's eyes are closed, and he thinks he's asleep. He's not. And Inosuke, like, sees it and realizes so like, right when you see it about to happen, he stops him. And it's cool because you don't even know that was happening until Inosuke stops him. So that's what made it so surprising. Because he's just like, I have to keep doing it. I have to keep doing it. I have to keep doing it. And then all of a sudden Inosuke stops him. And then you realize, oh shit, he was just about to kill himself for real. The demon tricked him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
right.
Like, yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, you don't have to fucking explain. You can show. And like, when you connect the dots is way more satisfying and surprising.
Well, I was going to say, that's one of the things I liked about Mars Red was, like, I feel like they conveyed a lot without over explaining.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't like it.
Mars Red was just kind of annoying, but we'll
talk
about it
and see
another
what
time.
I think about the first few episodes, just because I'm curious.
We should just talk about it amongst us. It doesn't have to be on the podcast, but I want to know how you guys think and feel about it. What else? There was something else I wanted to touch on. Maybe I did already.
We should definitely talk about the end before we end the podcast, because to me that's the best part of the movie. But if you got something before that, then go for it.
So yeah, 2 parts basically to the story. Once they've killed the train, they fight the 3rd level demon, and that's really where it's the majority of the actions, and in the end. And then Rengoku basically gets his ass kicked, but also kicks equal amount of ass. And in the end, he doesn't kill the 3rd level demon. He ends up getting killed. But the way he dies, he's basically like, his goal was to save everybody on the train, and he did that. So technically, as the demon's running away after getting his head almost chopped off and the sun's coming up, Tanjiro throws his sword at him, impales him. Yeah, he does impale him. And then starts basically talking shit like, You didn't win.
I really
you're
liked
running
that.
away.
Like, it was the first time, or I mean, it maybe it wasn't the first time, but like Tanjiro straight lost his cool. Like, he's always like, you know, the pillar of like hope and positivity and courage and doing the right thing, and he just straight loses it and starts going off with this dude, like calls him names, and I was just like, shit. And I really liked the ending. Like, they didn't go for the happy ending. They were like, it's like a bittersweet thing. It was like kind of Return of the Jedi. Like, oh shit, like it's a win, but not really. Like, they lost one of their best dudes and the bad guy got away.
It gets you hyped for the second season.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming it'll pick up right where the movie
For
leaves
sure.
off.
Yeah. They better. I mean, that's...
Because at this point, Tanjiro's lost his sword.
Yeah, he's got to get another sword again.
Right.
Oh, I'm already laughing because it was
The sword
dude made
maker's
him feel like such an
The
ass.
sword maker's fucking out of his mind. So it's gonna be great to see him again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, some of you guys got kind of emotional at the end. I didn't really get that emotional. I thought, you know, he sees Rengoku sees his mom as he's like about to die. And, you know, high level story, he's doesn't really get along with his dad. His dad's kind of a drunk asshole for whatever reason, but he's always kind of been the older brother to his, you know, little brother, and, you know, his little brother looks up to him. He's tried to be this pillar of positivity to counter his dad being an asshole. But his mom died when he was young, so, you know, as he's seeing his mom as he's dying, he's, you know, basically getting her assurance that he did the right thing and he's done well by her this whole time. And maybe I didn't fully wrap my head around that as I was watching it, because now that I think about it, I was like, damn, that's pretty heavy stuff.
I feel like that's a really relatable like angle for the character, and just for, you know, for a scene in a movie where like he was doing his best, and then like it's like it kind of goes back to that meme about when the dog dies, like, was I a good boy? And it's like, no, I'm told you were the best. Like, it gets you right in the feels, just like, man, why do you have to die? I mean, he was such a good guy. And
right.
But
and I feel like you just didn't get enough of that character.
Yeah, I disagree with that. He's so hard.
I feel like he got just enough. Like,
Really?
like they introduce him, like he's got the crazy eyes and he's kind of goofy and awkward, but like super likable. Like, all the characters are likable just because they're so hilarious in their own ways. And you know, for something that where they introduce him and then set it up and kill him in the same movie, like, I think they did a pretty good job.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing for me is, like, Tanjiro's the heart of the show. Like, in so many shonen, the main character's the heart. And a lot of what they do in this show, what they do a lot, like, you see it in, like, shows like Rurouni Kenshin. Naruto was another example, and I'm sure there are others that I haven't watched that they do the same thing. But the character not only wins battles, but they, like, win hearts and minds. Deku's kind of the same way, too, in My Hero, where everyone around them is better because of their influence. And Tanjiro, I feel like, is like the number one of any show that I've seen. He's like the number one guy where people just are changed by him. And you see that in Zenitsu and Inosuke. Like, the two, like, most likable, obnoxious, surfacey characters. Like, he is the only one that can, like, get into them, you know, and, like, bring out the best in them. So when you see this guy who is usually leading his own little circle, and then he looks up to somebody else so much and they believe in him, and then, you know, he's like, okay, like, I can do this because I want to get to your level. Like, I look up to you even though I just met you, but you've just proven yourself to be so competent and give such a damn about what you're doing in the mission that, you know, when you have this crazy fight and you're fighting this demon who just surpasses any imaginable power that you could conceive in your head, and then he kills him. Like, when you see your favorite pure character heartbroken because this guy that like he just made this bond with in this harrowing situation die, like, I don't know, man. I don't know how that's not emotional. I don't fucking get it. And then also, like, the dream stuff was the best. I mean, Zenitsu's dream and Inosuke's dream, those were just like comic relief. But Tanjiro's...
Yeah. No, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about was, because they used Tanjiro's dream to develop him or just, say what we already knew about him, but just like in a really awesome way.
Very awesome. So you see Tanjiro's dream, and it just makes you love him more because of everything you just said, Alan. And then you see Rengoku's dream where his dad's being an asshole, but he has a little brother, and his little brother's like, hey, what did dad say? And he's just straight with him, like, look, I'm not going to lie to you. Dad didn't think anything special of the good news that I gave him, but I have a little brother who believes in his older brother, and that keeps me going. So, like, the fact that he is just getting shit on emotionally by his dad, and then you go back further in time when his mother was still alive, and how she was like, you're so strong because you're meant to help weaker people. Like, that's the whole reason you're here. And she kind of gives him this lesson, and then she just like opens her arm, and she's just like, hey, come here, and hugs him and gives him the only parental love that he's gonna get because then she dies, and then he's just left with dad, who's a dick. And then he sees her after like fighting harder than you've seen any anime protagonist. It's just like, hey, man. And then coupled with the good ass animation and mood that is
sweet
animation.
Sweet.
It's like, hey, man, fucking, I'm an emotional guy, and all of that shit gets me. Because I love what I loved about this movie. I loved a lot, and all of those elements just spoke to me. So even though I did feel they went overboard with the melodrama, it was like, all right, y'all could cut the crying like by 50%, and it would be fine.
The crying went to like they
fine.
Turned it up to like 15 out of 10.
It still had the emotional impact of everything else, because it's just like, man, I like all of these characters so much, and I like Tanjiro so much. So yeah, like him being so broken up by the Flame Hashira losing to this crazy ass demon that he knows he's gonna have to fight at some point, and he has that moment where he's losing hope. I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know how you watch that stuff and don't feel nothing. That you a different kind of
real.
You're a different kind of person than me.
It's not that I didn't feel anything. I just didn't get to the point of tears. But it was, No, the way you explained it is accurate. I'm just a robot. I have no feelings.
Stuff after like the year that we've all had, stuff like hits me different now, because a lot of it I'll draw a line between like the real life and like what the character's going through, and like when they're talking about like when he's in his dream and he's like, oh, I can't, this is a really nice dream but it's not real, and I'm just like, yeah, fuck. So that happens a lot now. But one of the things I want to talk about was so one of the thing with the dream is that, and the little kids, is he sends the little kid into the dream, and then so the dream only exists within a radius of the person, and then at the edge of that radius they cut like the invisible wall or whatever, and then they're into, what did they call it, their pure spirit,
their subconscious or something.
Their unconscious realm or their unconscious state. So like the kid who's in Tanjiro's dream cuts through, and then he's just in this like supremely beautiful like still water with clouds in the sky reflecting off of the water, and it's just like this place of perfect like warmth and peace. And I was just like, yeah, man, that's Tanjiro on the inside. Like, that
was a good representation of
I was just like,
spirit.
I was like, yeah, they're doing right by my boy.
Which makes you wonder, like, what was Rengoku's subconscious all about? Like, with all the fire and stuff. I mean, obviously he's the fire guy, but
He just
You
has
know.
the burning passion that will never be extinguished. Krazer X.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, so that was really that was cool. I just remembered something that I thought was a little silly because they're such a badass swordsman, but somehow Tanjiro gets stabbed, or Inosuke is gonna get stabbed by like this, average human with a little like needle or something.
It's a demon
then,
needle, man.
Okay, fine, but the dude wielding it was your average train conductor Joe, and somehow Inosuke's not paying attention, and Tanjiro has to take the wound for him, and then that ends up being a whole thing. I was just like, that's a little silly, but
And Inosuke
But he
gets
healed it
distracted.
with
man.
concentration.
He gets distracted, and he doesn't see non-demons as a threat.
fair, I guess. What were you saying, AJ? What did you start to say?
He heals it with concentration.
Oh yeah, that was cool. That was cool. They like made that a thing.
I guess.
And then later they you can see like when Rengoku is like mortally wounded, you see him breathing, and you're just like, oh shit, he's trying to help himself with the breathing, but it's not gonna be enough. Yeah.
And that's another.
Yeah.
That was another development point in the character of Rengoku and Tanjiro, because Tanjiro's all injured and he's laying down after they rescue the train, and Rengoku, like, he doesn't go over there and say you're okay. He's like giving him a lesson while he's bleeding out, and he's like,
Right.
here's what you need to do. You need to do your concentration breathing, and he's like instructing him to heal himself right there, like in the field. So it's this moment where he's like, I'm going to teach this kid. Like, this kid is worth something. Like, he's one of us. So I'm going to take this moment to put him under my wing. And like, this is before the upper three guy comes, so they think everything is over. But I'm like, that's so fucking cool. It's such a neat moment, rather than just being like, are you okay? All right, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to wrap my universal healing anime bandage around you, that all I gotta do is wrap it around you and you're magically better. It's like that's a way where you explain a thing, you explain a technique, but it moves the plot at the same time because it's based around a character interaction, and it just brings more depth rather than I'm standing on the train talking about my plan to no one. I'm never gonna get over that, by the way.
That was, I mean, it was on brand for Demon Slayer, but yeah, I didn't notice it when I was watching it, but since you mentioned it, I'm like, he did kind of spend a lot of time
In his creepy voice.
It's on brand, but like, I noticed it while I was watching the first season too. I'm just like, man, they're talking a lot. I really do like this show, but man, they're talking so much right now rather than just fighting.
Yeah.
Well, and Rengoku also acknowledges Nezuko as a member of the Demon Slayer. Not that it really means anything.
Yeah.
But he's like, hey, she was defending humans, so she's as much a part of the Demon Slayer core as anybody.
I forget what the Raven or the Crow tells or can do, but maybe that's part of what the Crow delivers is his cosign on Nezuko.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you mean?
Like,
The
where he
Crow-
says like, oh, Nezuko's an official member of the Demon Slayer Corps. Like, the other Hashiras aren't going to know that. They're, the ones who are still skeptical of Nezuko. But at the end, the Crow, delivers the news of his death to everyone.
Right.
So I don't know if the Crow, delivers all the details of how it went down or what specifically he said about Nezuko to where, like, it'll help them in the future, but whatever.
Well, no, I mean, my assumption wasn't that was meant for anybody else but Tanjiro.
Yeah.
Because
you're probably
while Rengoku's dying, he's like, sit down, let's talk a little while, while we have a little bit of time left. And he's just telling them stuff. And that was one of the things that he was saying, because another thing that you have to watch the show for, or you're not going to get, is that there was this whole crazy scene where Tanjiro and Nezuko get brought in front of the Hashiras and the leader of the Corps, and they're debating on whether or not they're going to kill Nezuko. And there's this freaking crazy scene where this one crazy guy who I hate forever because he did it was like stabbing her. And, you know,
I forgot about
all the
that.
fanboys like me are freaking out. We're just like, what the fuck? I'm going to kill you, you cartoon fictional bitch.
You don't do that. Let's go.
Right. So it's another moment where he's like, at first he says, when he first meets Tanjiro, he just says, the master accepted her, so I'm not going to say anything for now. So he wasn't accepting her. He was just like, yeah, I'll pay attention to what the master's saying. So at the end of it all, he's like, look, I saw in her what Tomioka saw in her, what you see in her. So, you know, man to man right now, I'm just letting you know, like, hey, I'm going to die right now, but die knowing.
But she's cool.
Yeah, die knowing that, like, I get it. I understand. And I think that meant a lot to Tanjiro. Like, I think it's for him. I don't think it's for anybody else.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Probably right. All right. Final thoughts?
We didn't really talk
Now,
about that last fight, which is fine, but I guess all I have to say about it is it's fucking amazing. It was
really good.
It was what I needed, because when the train and like when they finished the train, I'm like, man, we didn't even get him to see the Flame Hashira fight that much. Like, he's dope.
Yeah,
I wanted
yeah.
to see him fight. And then the other demon comes and I'm like, okay, I know that this is in line with the manga, so are they going to end the movie here? Because I was thinking this is going to just be like a movie. And then it turned into 2 movies where it's like, all right, the second movie is about this fight. And it was fucking amazing.
It was arguably the best part of the movie. Actually, you can't argue that. It was the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
By far. Rock solid. Rock solid action. If you're a fan of Demon Slayer, see it. If you're not, don't see it probably.
I don't know who likes anime and doesn't like Demon Slayer. I have yet to meet one person like this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's the god anime.
I'm sure there's some asshole out there who's like, Demon Slayer's overrated. It's not nearly as good as magical carpet girls.
That person has no friends.
Magical
You've got
carpet
friends,
girls.
person. Some
Can't even shine a light.
people just really like the magical carpet girls. It's not their fault. It's just
I
what
mean, if
they're
you want to
into.
like magical carpet girls, go for it, but it ain't better than Demon Slayer.
You're right. I agree with you, but to each
But
their own.
is Demon Slayer better than Mortal Kombat? That's the real question.
Mortal Kombat.
I'm gonna say yes.
No, it's not.
And I didn't see Mortal Kombat, but I'm gonna say yes.
Mortal Kombat's the best movie that's come out in the last 150 years.
Since the first movie.
Since the first movie, before there were talkies.
I mean the first Mortal Kombat movie,
No, the first.
but also the first film,
The first film.
the first moving picture show.
Yeah.
It's the movie to end all movies. Mortal Kombat 2021.
Any final thoughts, Alan?
No. I'm glad I watched it. Glad I got to see it. You should see it too if you're into Demon Slayer at all. Or if you got friends going to see it who are into Demon Slayer and you're like, I don't know, just go see it. And then it'll give you something to look forward to when you go back and watch season 1, because you're going to have to do that because you're going to be into it and you're going to want to know more. So just go see it, whether you're into it or not. Do yourself a favor, give yourself something new to sink your teeth into. That's
Yeah,
my
man.
word.
Watch it. Love it or don't, and enjoy it.
I mean, it's required. If you're into Demon Slayer, it's not a question. You watch it, and
No. You're right.
The good in it is fucking good.
Oh yeah, it's literally required because you won't know what's going on in season 2 if you don't
Exactly.
watch it.
Exactly.
So go do it.
So yeah, and the good in it is worth it because the good is very high level.
Yeah, the bad's not even that bad.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and the good is great. So Get
I
it.
think I will watch it again. I will probably like it more if I watch it again. With my expectations.
I mean, I know I'm
checked.
watching it again just because I want to see that last fight scene in Blu-ray. So I'm getting it on Blu-ray when it
Yeah,
comes out.
yeah. I can't wait to watch it again digital on a big old TV
Big old TV.
with my face an inch from the screen. It's gonna be good.
I can't wait till the YouTubers redo it in 60 FPS.
No thanks.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Gross. On that note, thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter at Otaku, at BrokeOtakuCast. One of us does one of those, and the other one does the other. Try to guess which one.
Never know who.
You never know what you're gonna
One
get.
of us don't do shit.
One of them don't do shit.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube.
Guys.
Throw it up on the YouTube if you want to listen to that. We're the second worst anime podcast on the internet, so make sure you give a thumbs up, a like, or a dislike on iTunes, 1 to 5 stars, and thumbs up those YouTube things. Hit that little bell, dingy dong thing, and the red button next to it.
Bang
That's
the
what you're supposed
gong.
to do.
Wherever you listen
Yep.
to this podcast, bang the gong.
Bang the gong. It's a gong show. Tell Pat Sajak that the answer to the puzzle is Broke Otaku Podcast, and you'll win all the money.
Second worst for a reason.
Did Alex Trebek die?
No, I don't think so.
Yes, Alex Trebek died.
Yes, he died.
No, he
Okay.
did. Okay.
Yes.
Shit.
Okay.
I couldn't
Well,
remember
he
if
and
he
Pat
just got
Sajak, I just
diagnosed.
assume were like best friends because they were on TV right next
I
to
bet
each
he
other.
fucking hated Pat Sajak.
He probably did.
Yeah, one hated the other, if not mutually. I feel
Pat
like
Sajak's
Alex
probably
Trebek
the
probably
biggest
hated
asshole.
Pat Sajak. Is that what you're saying,
Yeah,
Marcus?
absolutely. He's like the fucking lowbrow, like heathen show,
Yeah.
cretin,
Anyone can host Wheel of
cretin
Fortune.
television.
They just pass each other in the hallway. Pat Sajak is just like, hey, Alex. And Alex just like, suck it.
Hey, Alex, you want to go to dinner later? Fuck off.
No,
Answer
absolutely
is
not.
fuck off.
Survey says, go to hell.
That's
Somebody says it's
that's the
Family
wrong
Feud.
game show.
I don't care.
Alex Trebek would never lower himself to cite
Answer.
another game show.
Go to hell.
He was 100% Jeopardy all the time.
You're right. LeVar Burton. LeVar Burton's going to be the interim host.
That's a good one.
Really?
That's a good.
Yeah.
That is a good substitute.
Yeah, the internet made it happen, I think.
LeVar Burton is.
But
See how
also
much his
fucking he
reading
wanted it.
Rainbow pays off.
Yeah, see how much them rainbows. I don't know. There's a good joke in there somewhere.
Something like that. All right,
let's,
that's it.
Let's stop.
Thanks for listening to the second worst podcast on the internet.
Thank you and good night.
Talk to you next time one way because we don't listen to you when you talk. Just hear us. Hear us next time.
I'm leaving.
Bye, everyone.
Special guest Pat Sajak and the ghost of Alex Trebek. possessed into LeVar Burton. Lamar, what's his name?
Stop talking, dude. Stop. Good night, everyone. See you next time.
Lamar Burton. Is that his name? LeVar.
Oh, yeah.
Well.